Hey everyone, my name is Depesh, and welcome back to MSA 2018. Today I'll be helping you go through creating a web app with React and TypeScript. You'll be using this base project for the entirety of this phase. This phase is meant to help you create as I mentioned, a React and TypeScript application. You'll then Dockerize this, upload it to Azure, connect it to some APIs, create some UI, and then your friends and family will be able to use this application however they choose to determine if a meme is dank or not, or any picture for that matter. So, let's get started. If you haven't already, navigate to this GitHub page. The link will be in the description below. Now once you've reached this page, scroll down a bit, have a read of this document, and if you haven't already, then download Visual Studio Code. So there's a link here. If you click that there, feel free to download whatever version you need for your specific OS. I have a Mac and I've already downloaded this previously. Once you've done that, go ahead and open Visual Studio Code. You should be greeted with a page like this. The first thing we'll do is open the integrated terminal. So go ahead and click View at the top and then Integrated Terminal. Now once you've done this, you'll see a terminal. If you've never seen this before, essentially it's just a console where you can give your computer commands to execute different things, and NPM uses this quite a lot. So it's great that Visual Studio Code has an inbuilt version already. Now let's navigate back to your GitHub page. So you can see here that there's different folders containing the different projects. So let's get started with the first one. So go ahead and click Base Project plus Code Environment Setup. So if you haven't already, you should go ahead and install NPM and Node.js. So to do that, there's an install button right here. Go ahead and click that. So this page is just telling you what NPM is good for. Essentially, it allows you to reuse code with other people, and rather than having to share the entire files, NPM can go ahead and download these dependencies when required. You'll become more familiar with this as we install new ones and use them throughout this process. So as it says here, NPM is installed with Node.js. So if you haven't already, again, click Download Node.js and NPM and install that version. To check if you have done it in the past and if you are on the latest version, go ahead and copy node-v. So this is just going to check the version of Node that's installed on your laptop or desktop. So go ahead and open Visual Studio Code, paste that into the terminal, and just go ahead and click Enter. So you can see here that I've got version 6.11.3. Do the same thing with NPM. Copy that across, paste that in, and you can see that my version is 6.1.0. At this time of shooting this video, that is the latest version. You might have a newer version and that is completely fine. Cool, so once you've done that, you're pretty much set up with everything you need to create a React and TypeScript app for now. Cool, so as you can see here, the learning outcomes from this module. What we'll try to get you up to speed with, because there are some people who will be here who haven't done much development before. And for those of you who have, feel free to advance to the later videos which are more advanced and will help you more so than this one, for instance. Cool, so the learning outcomes. How to create a basic React application with TypeScript. How to navigate the terminal with Visual Studio Code. What are components and what are they used for? How to route pages in React. How to implement Bootstrap in a React project. And how to create custom global style sheets for your entire React application. So the introduction gives you a brief description of what you can expect with TypeScript. I guess essentially for developers doing web applications, it is hugely beneficial because it provides you with things like autocomplete, type checking, compile time errors, and increases productivity all around, because it helps you with refactoring, and a lot of us spend a lot of time doing refactoring. And because with development, you're going to be working with teams and you'll have large code bases, type checking is very important because it eliminates a lot of common errors that people make. And so that's very important, and that is why we are trying to use it in this application to teach you, when you are on your placement, that these basic things like type checking is very important, because it helps you stay away from any changes that might break code in the future or in production. Cool. So if you scroll down a bit on this GitHub page, you can see here it says install create React app. So let's go ahead and do that. Cool. So before I do that, I'm going to create a folder on my desktop. So if I navigate to my desktop, so CD just allows you to navigate folders. So now I'm on my desktop. LS just lets you see all the folders within that particular, all the subfolders within that folder. So if I go ahead now and paste that in, npm install -g create React app. So -g just means global. So let's wait for that to install. So I've installed that package. Now what we want to do is create the project. So it's going to be called my app, and this will create all the React scripts with TypeScript conversion into that folder. So let's go ahead and paste that in. So this may take a couple of minutes, as it mentions here. Go ahead and wait for that, and once it's done, you'll have a similar folder structure like this. So some basics. The package.json file contains the dependencies that you'll use throughout this application, and everything that our app will use, I guess, to give the user a better experience, for instance. So once that's done, you can see here, it tells you to cd into your app. So cd my, and if you just go ahead and you know that that's the only folder starting with M, you can go ahead and click tab, and it'll auto-complete that. So now if I click ls, you can see that there's a whole bunch of subfolders and files within that my app that has been automatically generated. So go ahead and paste npm run start. Once this, and go ahead and click enter. So you can see that a server has been created on the port 3000, and you can see here automatically, welcome to React. To get started, edit your app.tsx file and save, and that will reload it. So fortunately, Microsoft has given us a version of React with TypeScript that has a live reloader. And so what that means is if you make any changes and it compiles fine, it will automatically get reflected on your web page. And so there's no need to run npm run start every single time, which is hugely efficient. Cool. So now once we have that, go ahead and start creating your base project. So to do that, what we'll have to do is install React Router. So this is going to install the version for TypeScript, and also the version just that npm will use as well. So this version here will give you all the things you'll need for autocomplete and compile time running checks, and this will help. This was just the normal npm package that will be used by your web browser to manipulate the code and compile it down into the version that your web browser will, I guess, understand. So let's go ahead and paste that into your terminal once you're in. So go ahead and click Control-C on your keyboard, paste that in, and this -- save here, what this does is put that version into your package.json file. So before we, I guess, click enter on that, let's open your my app project. So Open folder, navigate to your desktop or wherever you've placed your document, I guess, and go ahead and open that. So if your terminal has now gone away, go ahead and open it again, integrated terminal. You're in my app still, and you can see here that there's a package.json file. Go ahead and paste that command in again, and you'll notice that once this is installed, that it'll pop up in your dependencies. You can see here now that there's a React Router DOM here. Cool. So what React Router does is allow you to do navigation throughout your web app. And so we'll be using this heavily to do all the routing. And React Router DOM specifically is for web pages. There's React Router, which is the overall package, and there's a React Router native, which is used for mobile app development as well. So, cool. So now once we have that installed, you have your source file. So let's just do some basic navigation through what is given to you initially. So the first page that is hit is your index.tsx file. So in your public folder, there's an index.html. This is the first file that your page sees, your web page sees. And you can see here, there's a root ID. What this does here, all the code that we'll be using will get put into here. And so the way React does this is in the index.tsx file, there's a document.getElement by ID, and essentially it's telling you that this first app page here is going to get placed into that root element. And in the app file, in the app component, I should say, is what you saw before. Welcome to React with the logo, as well as to get started and the information that you need there. And that's what that page there is. What we're going to be doing is changing this around and implementing new code to do what we want it to do. So to get started, in your source folder, right-click and create a new file. Call it router.tsx. TSX is just the file extension that's used for TypeScript and React. Cool, so let's navigate now back to our GitHub page and copy this code snippet here and paste that in. You can see already that these 3 lines here, they're giving you an error. Cannot find module, components, first component. And that is because we have not created these components. This line will actually also error as well because this file does not exist either. So let's go ahead and fix this. Before we do that, I guess, I'll give you a brief description of what components are. Components are just small, think of them like JavaScript functions. They're reusable code that can be used in isolation, and the output or the return statement of these components tell the UI what to do. You can pass in properties or props and use this logic to change the way that the UI behaves, which is really, really helpful. So this is a router. When the URL changes to these specific paths, the components will be triggered and they will open and show what the return statement has in store for them. So we want to create a new folder and call it components. This will house all our components. Right click and now create 3 new files. The first one being first component, second component. Bear in mind that throughout this throughout these videos, these files may be renamed, but the idea of this video is to give you a base project that you can use and learn different things and manipulate it however you like. So, and the last one, header.tsx. So now we have 3 files. Make sure you call these first component.tsx, and second component.tsx. Cool. So now we have these three files, which are blank. Once we have these three files, we want to paste in the following code. So in your first component.tsx, let's paste in this code here. Save that. Your second component.tsx, let's paste this in. And I will explain what each of these do very soon. So let's start off with header.tsx. You can see here that there's a navbar and there's some index link containers. So these are Bootstrap components. Bootstrap allows you to create really nice, dynamic, responsive web apps that will work on both desktop, laptops, tablets, and mobile devices with the same code base. This is hugely beneficial, hugely efficient, and saves a lot of time for developers and people, clients who are paying you money to do something. So this is going to create a header in the top of your page with two items, page 1 and page 2. This will navigate to your first component and second component respectively. And there'll be a home page called dank not dank, which in our router, as we know, this will navigate to your app.tsx file. We'll come back to these, cannot find module, React Router Bootstrap, and React Bootstrap after I explain what the first component and second component are. So as I mentioned, components are just reusable pieces of, reusable functions, I guess, that will throw back information or information to the UI to display it as you wish. And second component is very similar. These will be changed heavily throughout this phase for you to do whatever you like. That might be displaying results from APIs, showing fancy UI, uploading documents, downloading documents, and so on and so forth. Cool, so once we've done this, you can see that there's some compile time errors. Because of TypeScript, we'd be able to figure this out rather than having to run our application and waiting for the application to crash. You can see here already that we need to do something. So in this situation, if I hadn't provided you with this information, it's very important for you to be able to learn how to debug these issues and, I guess, search on the internet using your favorite search engine to see results that other people have. React has been around for a while, and it's very probable that there's good documentation and good information on Stack Overflow that will help you analyze this issue and fix it. And it's the more you do it, the better it is for you, because you'll get faster at it, and sooner or later you'll just know them off by heart, how to interpret it and how to fix them straight away. So let's head back over to our GitHub page. Let's copy this. So this is essentially doing what we did earlier, including the TypeScript version and the React components. And once we've done this, let's go ahead and paste that in and install it. So index link container just creates little boxes in your header, which we'll see later on, to house the different nav items, which looks really elegant. And Bootstrap has provided us with this framework. So once this is installed, you'll notice that these have now gone away immediately. And so that means that these are installed. Let's go ahead and create this import.styles.css. So in your source folder, let's create a new folder and call it CSS. And within this folder, create a new file and call it styles.css. Cool. Let's paste in this code here and save that. So this code here essentially allows you to add IDs or classes and call it center text, and it'll center align this text. And we've used that in our first component here, and in our second component here. We've also used an h1 tag. This will pick up all h1 tags that throughout our application and apply a font size of 150 pixels to it. Once we've done that, let's navigate to our app.test.tsx and make sure that it looks like this. So let's copy that, navigate to our app.test.tsx and paste that in. You would have noticed that this app import here has now been changed without curly braces. We go app.tsx. Now exports the default. You no longer need to pass that in. So the last thing we need to do is add these 3 lines to our index.html file. Pretty much this will tell your web application to get the latest version of Bootstrap and put it into your web app. So let's go to index.html and copy React app, highlight React app and paste that in there. Cool. So those 3 lines have started there. So now let's run npm run start and see if there's any errors. So wait for that to build. And you can see here that we still haven't navigated to our page. So to do that, we need to go to our index.tsx file and change this here to app router. Now this is telling you here that this is no longer being used, so we can go ahead and remove that. And cool. So you can see here page 1, page 2, and the headers there. But this is still existing. And that is because in our app.tsx file, we need to change some code. Cool. So in your app.tsx file, you should have some code like this. I'll have this available for you on the GitHub page, which you'll be able to copy and paste this in to make sure that it looks exactly like this. So now, once you've saved this and go back to your file here, your page, you should see that there's a dank not dank page, page 1 and page 2, which reflect exactly what is on here. Hopefully you've learned something and you have the basics that you need to know of React and TypeScript to manipulate it in however way you want to make it do what you would like to do. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed the video.